think we should get started.
Okay.
Okay. If any of you don't know me, I am Joni Rubenstein. I am one of the co-presidents of Your Temple Women's Association this year, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you tonight. Cantor already stole my opening line, and that was to ask you to mute yourself, but I do promise we will all have plenty of time to talk to each other and share our thoughts. Hope that you all got to see some of the sunshine today. It was an absolutely gorgeous day. We always have to thank Jen Mendelson and Patty Carlisle and Debbie Friedman, all the women at the temple who help us bring this programming to you. Thanks to Rana and Ina, our programming chairs this year, for doing such great work and getting lots of programs to you. And special thank you to Marcy O'Connell, my sister and my co-chair for tonight. Rosh Chodesh is a joyous holiday, and it occurs every month at the new moon. Right now, we've just begun the month of Shvat. It's the 11th month in our year, 5781. Perhaps you, like me, remember from Sunday school that Tu B'Shvat occurs during this month, and we always used to plant trees in Israel. And I always found it funny that we in Cleveland were in the snow, but it was planting season in Israel. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by Rabbi Schlein, Rabbi Dadun, and Cantor Sibo. Each one are going to explain a little bit of the history of this holiday, explain its blessings, and share some readings. So bring your beverage close to your screen, and I will turn this over to, I don't know if you had an order. Rabbi Dadun, do you want to be first?
I'd love to. Thank you, Joni, and thank you to all the co-chairs who did this tonight, and definitely thank you for inviting me, everybody. It's such an honor and a pleasure for me to be here and to celebrate Rosh Chodesh. I am going to tell you a little bit about its etymology and where it comes from, and what it means today, which is a lot of things, which is the good news. So of course, Rosh Chodesh, as we know, like Rosh Hashanah, Rosh means head, Chodesh means month, head of the month. And I want to remind us of something that is kind of funny. As Joni said, it's the 11th month, Shvat, because we start our counting. We have several New Years, and actually Tu B'Shvat is another New Year's in our tradition, as is Pesach and as is Rosh Hashanah. You know, many circles, many gatherings, Rosh Chodesh has become to be known as a woman's holiday, and it usually begins with some sort of candle lighting ceremony. And that actually comes from our biblical history, where to announce, to make any kind of announcements, we had to do big things, right? To announce Rosh Hashanah, we had the shofars, right? The shofar blowing. But to announce a new month, we would light these giant bonfires, and that's how we would notify kind of from village to village that it was the new month, using light, using these big fire pits. And that is one of the reasons we light candles on Rosh Hashanah. And it's a really interesting holiday. It actually it has had kind of different evolutions and continues to change all the time. The page that I want to show you, that I want to share with you for just a moment, comes actually from our Exodus text, Exodus 32:2, which reads that Aaron said to them, meaning the Israelites, take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. This is when Moses was at the top of the mountain doing the very difficult work of interacting with God, and they were on the bottom of the mountain conspiring to create a golden calf. And according to Rashi, who talks about this, Rashi's commentary is that the women were reluctant to give their gold pieces away because they were committed. They were committed to their one God, and they weren't kind of willing to give up any of their ornaments, if you will, to make this golden calf. And as a reward, they receive this gift of this holiday, Rosh Chodesh, and that every month at the new moon, of course, as Jews, we We look at the moon and not the sun. That's how we count our days, our months, etc.
Yeah, amazing how we've learned.
And it's how this is the gift that we essentially receive to have this holiday once a month. And of course, as women, we are very much in touch with the monthly calendar because our bodies are very much in touch. And there's actually so much commentary in our Jewish tradition about women's bodies, our periods, and the way we kind of link when we're with each other. And we have that special womanly connection. Most of this stuff was written by men, so you can imagine that some of it is challenging to read at times, and that's me putting it very delicately. But there is this acknowledgement that women have this special something. Our tradition also teaches that one of the reasons we are exempt from doing some of the mitzvot, some of the commandments, is because we do have this holiness, this kind of special, what they call shechina, right? This feminine power, this womanly power. And when women are together, they are connected not only through souls, but very often through our bodies, right? Our periods sync. We do have this kind of special something that men don't have. And our tradition actually does acknowledge quite a bit of that. And in an 8th and 9th century text, it's called Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, they really talk about the Rosh Chodesh being for women, but there isn't so much in our ancient text about what we're supposed to do, which has actually been a really great gift for women because it's allowed us to, because it's kind of so lawless, we get to create whatever we want around this holidays. And even Orthodox women who celebrate this holiday take a day off. There's many ways that people that kind of traditional women celebrate this holiday. Some of them take the day off from any work that they're doing, whether it's household or dealing with children. Some women receive gifts from their husbands. But in the 60s and 70s, kind of a new trend started, which I think is really interesting, where women didn't celebrate it kind of individually, but rather came together and started learning and studying together and talking about our Torah text through the woman's perspective, which is obviously going to be very different than that of a man's, especially because so much of the text is written from a male perspective. And in the 60s and 70s, since the 60s and 70s, women have continued to do this gathering of sorts for Rosh Chodesh and to celebrate themselves and their contribution to our tradition. What I think is particularly striking, especially in modernity, with Rosh Chodesh, and this is something that I'm very passionate about. Not only have more books come out about Rosh Chodesh and curricula for women. There was one that came out a decade or so ago, Rosh Chodesh, it's a girl thing. It's also this idea of normalizing the woman's experience. Women should be able to talk about their periods without shame. Women should have the ability to talk about their bodies, their pregnancies without shame, without feeling a certain way. I have found it really powerful that in recent years, there's more conversation about the woman's experience and it being normalized, especially around childbirth and what a woman should or shouldn't feel, how she should experience the pregnancy, post-pregnancy, what her role should be. And I think the more that we have these rituals around Rosh Chodesh and celebrating the woman's kind of experience, the more we have these conversations about making our own normalizing and taking away some of these difficult stigmas that women have had to deal with for really thousands of years. They're too emotional, they should feel a certain way at a certain time, right? And really just letting women be who they want to be and making that the norm. And I think that the more we do these gatherings, the more we are saying that we have a powerful voice that can and should be heard. And I think even our ancestors recognize that. I think it looks very different today, obviously. But I think the more that we do these kinds of gatherings, we acknowledge that our experience is an important experience and it should change the conversation for the way we kind of engage in our world in the future and having multiple perspective in the workplace, in the home, and not just setting definitions on what women should do, but rather giving them the space to experience life in the way that they want and feel they should experience it. So I hope that with the continuation of these gatherings, we continue to empower each other and ourselves together.
Thank you, Rabbi Didru. That was wonderful. I don't know, are you next, Rabbi Schlein?
I am next.
All right, thank you.
So thank you so much for giving and sharing some of the historical context and the power of this moment in this ritual and how it brings us together as we gather. So the piece that I'm going to be doing, we're actually going to be doing a ritual. So I'd like to introduce it by sharing a poem. It's called A Kavanah for Women on Rosh Chodesh. Women were given the new moon celebration because we held onto our jewels and refused to participate in an act that profaned God and our emergent nation and produced a golden calf. This is the lesson we are taught. But what of the women who danced under the moon, who in soul and bone felt the changing of time and tide? Many moons have graced the earth, and many women have moved with them for millennia. What if we were to suddenly give ourselves the new moon? Be it in our orbit and from here, seek out tradition and God. The view is different from us, of our world and the worlds beyond our reach. The new moon is a new universe for women, pulling us to the center of who we are and the people we wish to become. Now that I've shared this poem, I would like to invite Cantor Sibo to share the blessing that is said as we welcome in the new moon.
Thank you, Rabbi. Appreciate that. I pulled out my old conservative Siddur from the days that I was doing cantorial work in the conservative movement. It's been a long time since I've chanted this blessing for welcoming in the new month. I'm not going to chant the entire blessing. I'm going to abbreviate it and share the translation with you. But not only is it appropriate for this evening when we begin this new month, but I think when you hear the translation, you're going to find it's actually very appropriate and quite meaningful for the times that we are currently living. Yehi ratzon milafanecha, Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, V'imatenu, Shetachadesh Aleinu et hachodesh hazeh, L'tova v'livracha. Rosh Chodesh Shavat, Yihye b'yom hashishi, Haba aleinu v'al kol Yisrael l'tova. Yechadeshehu hakadosh baruch hu, aleinu v'al kol amo beit Yisrael, l'chaim u'l'shalom, l'sason u'l'simcha, l'shua u'l'nechama v'nomar. Amen. May it be your will, God, and God of our fathers and our mothers, to renew us unto this coming month for our good and for blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, of goodness, of blessing, of sustenance, of bodily vigor, a life marked by reverence for you, a life free from shame and reproach, a life abundant, and a life filled with honor. A life in which we feel the love of Torah, a life in which all the desires of our hearts shall be fulfilled for our good. The new month of Shevat will begin this evening, and may this new month bring blessing to us and to all Israel, and may the Holy One Blessed be God. Renew this month for us, for all God's people, for the house of Israel, for life and peace, for gladness and joy, for salvation and comfort. And to this we say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. This month in particular, as Joni had said in the beginning, the month of Shavat really reminds us of fruits, and it's that juxtaposition of thinking about this as a time of growth, but also looking out the window and it's winter. And in reality, we often forget that winter is so incredibly important of a time for nurturing and sustaining and creating a almost a cocoon or a safe spot, guarding the seeds that are going to flower in the spring. And this is, in a lot of ways, like many of us, as we think about our lives and we think about the opportunities that we have with one another, we always have to plant a seed. And some of the seeds that we plant, we have to protect with all our might. And some of the seeds we plant require sun endlessly, and some need to be hidden in the dark. But all of them need to be nurtured and protected and sustained. Oftentimes, we forget the importance of the winter and of taking that moment to plant the seed. And so what I'd like to do right now, and we will have an opportunity to talk at the end. So this will just be sort of a reflection moment. And I think some people have things to drink with them, water, some have alcohol, and you've been waiting so patiently. So as we take part in this process and this moment, as we think about what it is we're going to celebrate, Mercy, I want you to think about what it is we want to celebrate and the joy and the sweetness that we want to bring to the world and into our lives. And let's join together in saying the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Okay. I also don't know, I know people are encouraged to bring nuts and fruit or like whatever you decided. I was feeling oranges and olives today. Don't know why. What I'd like you to do is to really, as you're enjoying this fruit and you're enjoying this time that we've created with one another, as you taste the fruit, I want you to really reflect on where it came from, where it grew, how it began. And I want you to think of a seed, one seed that you would like to plant, to nurture, to protect, and to grow. Whether it be acts of kindness, whether it be something sweet that you can do. But I want you to think of a seed that you can grow and nurture and support for yourself. And we're going to taste the sweetness just to remind you where this seed is going to go and grow and what it will become. So I'd like you to join me in saying the blessing for fruit of the tree. It's Borei Pri Ha'etz at the end. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei Pri Ha'etz. And so now you can like drink and you can eat also while we're enjoying this beautiful time together. Cantor?
Well, Rabbi Schlein, I've got a little chocolate on my plate here. What's the bracha for the chocolate tree?
I think the chocolate, isn't it the same? Isn't it 8?
You know, is it borei mine? Wait. No, be borei mine. Borei.
Wait, what kind of chocolate is it?
Well, it's from Mally's. It's from the tree, the Mally's tree that creates the marshmallow walnut chocolate covered thing. It's from the walnut tree. It's from the walnut tree.
That's beautiful. Also, you have walnuts in it?
Mm-hmm.
And since you brought up the chocolate, I picked up a book on mindfulness, and one of the activities and exercises was a chocolate meditation, which I highly encourage. It's the same kind of a thing you were doing while eating the fruit of the tree, where as you're eating it and allowing it to dissolve in your mouth, to really follow the path that it takes and to just truly focus on the act of eating it. So I find it works great with fruit and especially the chocolate.
Beautiful. Well, thanks, Rabbi Stacy. I know Rabbi Dudun, she texted me, she's going to be right back. Her beautiful 19-month, how old is Micha? Her beautiful 19-month-old son was needing a little mommy time. She'll be right back. But here's what I wanted to share with all of you. So, you know, music's my thing. I love music. You love music. But do you know the 4 main elements that make up music? Well, one of them is pitch, right? The highs and the lows. Some sing up here, some sing down there and lower. And there's also another element of music is dynamics. That's the louds and the softs, the dramatics and the quiet moments. And then there's another element that makes up music called timbre. That's the tone and the quality. That's why when we hear 2 people singing, maybe a soprano and a bass, they both can be excellent singers, but we hear there's a different timbre, there's a different tone. It's why we hear the difference between a trumpet and a flute, or an oboe and a cello. But the element of music that I want to focus on with you is the element of rhythm, the beat and the repetition. Because when I think of Rosh Chodesh, and when I think of us, a collective group of women, I think of rhythm. And I think of the rhythm of the moon, and I think of the rhythm of our bodies as women. And Rabbi Dudun mentioned our cycles. And it's very true that while there is you all look gorgeous and youthful, it's a very good chance that there's only maybe 2 or 3 people on this Zoom right now that are concerned about their monthly cycle. Because I think the majority of us on here probably either are in the midst of or have gone through what we'll call menopause. So when we were able to rely on that monthly cycle, there was that rhythm. Whether you liked that time of the month or you didn't like that time, there was always that reminder, that cycle, if you were fortunate enough to have what we'll call a regular cycle. But for those of us who are past that time now, how do we find that rhythm within our own body when that rhythm is no longer there? I want to share a couple things with you. There's a writer by the name of Jill Winterstein, and she wrote an article. I'm just going to share a couple excerpts. The article is called Learning the Rhythm of the Moon. She writes, "The moon is magical, beautiful, and full of surprises. She waxes and wanes through the course of a month, showing us her different faces. The moon's rhythm is graceful, dependable, and the rhythm of femininity. She mirrors the dance of feminine energy and the cyclic nature of a woman. Every month she teaches us that each phase is different but equally powerful. She demonstrates how many elements can gracefully come together to form a pattern, giving us an example of beauty in complexity. The moon has a new pattern every day, and each day she gives us new energy to work within ourselves. If we follow her dance, we can create a pattern for ourselves and our lives." And it made me think about this idea of rhythm, the rhythm of the Jewish calendar, the rhythm of the moon, the rhythm of Rosh Chodesh and our own bodies. What can we do in our lives if our bodies are not maybe in the same rhythm and the same pattern that they were in at one point? What can we do in our lives whether it's during this time of isolation or, God willing, when the sun really comes out again and we're all back together. And I want to suggest that you all take a moment to think about a gift that you can give yourself, something that will keep you in this rhythm and in this pattern. Maybe your rhythm, your rhythmic touchstone is knowing that once a month you have a volunteer effort that you will commit to. Perhaps in COVID, we have reconnected via Zoom or otherwise with friends that we've lost touch with in normal times. It sounds a little crazy, but there are so many people I've been in touch with since COVID that when we were all able to gather, we didn't gather together. Maybe that rhythm that your body and your soul and your spirit needs lies within prayer. Maybe it's marking the ritual of Rosh Chodesh. Maybe it's marking the ritual of Shabbat once a week. So I urge you to give yourself a gift, whether it's doing something nice for yourself, pampering yourself, doing something for others, or reconnecting with family and friends who maybe have we've lost track of, that you find that rhythm and that you continue that, not just through these dark days of COVID, but as the sun begins to come out and we go forward. Joni?
Thank you. I think all three of our lovely clergy women have given us a lot to think about. Rosh Chodesh gatherings have become social gatherings. They run the gamut of deep discussions about Judaism to simple family or girl talk. Before the pandemic, Rosh Chodesh gatherings were in people's homes, not in temples, and certainly not electronically on Zoom. But they always had a theme for women to think about. I think the three women have already given us things to think about, but I would like to continue that. I would like to use the themes of light and gold. I am wearing a necklace that was gifted to me by my mother, Marilyn. It's half of a set of earrings that were gifted to her by her aunt, Evelyn. My sister has the other earring, and it is very special, not because it's gold, but because of the emotional value of the strong, influential women that share its history. I'm wondering if any of you have a piece of gold jewelry that has been given to you, or that you are saving to give to a special woman or a child that you know. Also, I'd like you to think about the light in our life. If we're lighting a bonfire for the new moon, and who is the person in your memory or in your present who is light for you? We're going to open up and you can unmute if you have something that you want to share. Now is your chance. Anybody?
Joni?
Yes.
I love that you and your sister on my screen, you know how on everybody's screen, everyone's kind of divided in different ways, but you and Marcy are actually right next to each other on my screen. And I love that as you were talking about your necklace, Marcy lifted up hers as well, which is really sweet. And that's a beautiful thing. And I don't have any gold to share today, but I was wondering, because you mentioned light, if it would be okay if I lit a candle at this moment.
I think that would be awesome.
And in lighting this candle and striking this match, there we go. I knew I could do it. And in lighting this candle and keeping with your theme of, let's say, L'Ador Vador, remembering our generations, right? I want to just share with all of you that I am so lucky that I knew three of my great grandparents. Two of them were men. One was my great bubby, Rose Goodman. And I just want to, by lighting this candle, remember my great bubby, Rose, my bubby, Ann Goldstock of blessed memory, who was one of my best friends ever, and my mother, who is currently one of my best friends, and my daughter. And so I am held up on the shoulders of and standing by the side of me by very strong women in my life. And I want to remember them and light this candle on this Rosh Chodesh in their honor and their memory.
I would like to share that I have 2 gold necklaces given to me by my husband early in our marriage. And I have decided that on my 2 granddaughters' 16th birthdays, I would gift them, each one of them. And well, the 18-year-old got hers already, and she loves it. It's a heart necklace, gold. And the other one will turn 16 in April, and I will gift her the other necklace.
That's so nice.
And I'm really excited about it.
Anyone else? Sharon. Marcy, you have to unmute Sharon.
Wait a second. I think, hold on. Give me 1 second. I can ask her to unmute. Ooh.
No, no.
Can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the light in my life is my mother-in-law of blessed memory. She was the most remarkable woman and really way ahead of her time in her style sense, in her fashion, and how she treated people, I felt. She lost her mother when she was 3 and was raised by her 3 brothers and her father. So you would think that she would have been very, boyish and not really have lots of female friends. But that was not the case. She had more friends than I bet all of us have combined. And the words that she said to me when I got married was, "Don't give up your girlfriends." And she said that they are beyond a doubt the most important people besides your husband and your children. And they will support you, comfort you, and always love you. And I tell that to people all the time because it's really the truth.
Anyone else? We'd love to hear from you.
I think some people are being polite and maybe raising their hand through the chat, but you don't have to be so polite. If you want to say something, just unmute
Just
and jump
unmute
in.
yourself. Go ahead, Janice.
Okay, I have a beautiful necklace, which I am not wearing now, which it's a lavalier. And my grandfather gave it to my grandmother on my paternal side when they got engaged. He could not afford a ring at the time. And so he gave her that. And it's really pretty special to me. And at some point I will give it to my daughter. And I hope my daughter will give it to hers because it was given to me because I was the firstborn girl. And at one point I thought I lost it on a very special day in my life. And when I got home, I was tracing my steps and I found it walking into my house. It had fallen off apparently just as I left the house. So it isn't lost, and it is something that will be passed on for generations, hopefully in our family. And she was a woman who died in her 50s and had a grandfather who I absolutely adored. But he was very domineering, and she never really had the opportunity to come into herself. And I think she would have been very proud of all the things the opportunities that I have had in my life, which she really didn't have.
Oh, so I see a hand up for Marlene.
No?
No?
Anyone else?
Okay.
All right, then it's back to me. That's really our whole program for tonight. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I know I learned a lot. And I love the idea that every new moon, we get to do this again if we want to. So if you enjoyed this, let us know. But before I let you go, we have a few things to discuss. Eileen, you need to talk because I'm going to talk about the things coming up. Unmute yourself.
Okay, all right. All right. You know, before you wrap things up, Cantor Kathy was talking about rhythm and doing something regularly. And what I have tried to do, starting maybe last month, is to keep a gratitude journal. Every day, I write down, actually, it's on an app. There's a gratitude app that you can put on your phone. And every day, I write in my journal on my phone something that I'm grateful for that day. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be extraordinary. The other day, I was grateful that I had a really good lunch. But I'm trying to do that, to make that a rhythm of my life. And especially now, every day, it's so important to realize. We certainly realize what we're missing, but it's so important to realize what we have. So I just wanted to mention that rhythm in my life.
I love that idea. I love that idea. Thank you for sharing that. Before you leave, I have to just remind you of the wonderful programming that's coming up from the Temple Women's Association this spring. You know, we are the perfect antidote for the isolation of this pandemic, and we want you to join in as many of these virtual events that spark your interest. This month on January 28th at 7 o'clock, we have a fascinating evening with the speaker, Mr. Bill O'Rourke. He is a Catholic gentleman who is helping to rebuild the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh after the shootings there. He's a wonderful storyteller, and he believes in leadership with integrity. So please join us for that. February 9th, Candy Anchor will lead us on a virtual tour of Gibraltar. Candy, I hope you're here because I don't know what time that is. Not here.
She
I'll
was
have
here.
to let you know about that.
She was.
Yeah,
Does anybody know what time that is?
she's back.
Oh,
Candy, what time is your tour of Gibraltar on February 9th? Unmute yourself so we know.
I can't look it up now, and I have an emergency call, so I'm gonna have to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we'll let you know. Tune in for that. February 24th at 2 o'clock, we have a.
Excuse me, Joni, it's at 2 o'clock.
Oh, thank you, Rana. All right, 2 o'clock on February 9th, 2 o'clock again on February 24th. We have a wonderful virtual tour of the Oberlin Art Museum led by Leslie Arian. And on March 3rd at 7 o'clock, we're going to have a Zoom cooking demonstration with Susie Fishbein, and it will include things just in time for this coming Pesach. So before we go, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and the rabbis have a special benediction for all of us.
And you know what, Joni, the rabbis and I have been rehearsing this benediction for a long time. What?
The rabbis.
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
No, rabbis, should we just go in the order that we spoke? Is Rabbi Dadun still back with us?
I'm here, yes.
All right, Rabbi Dadun and Rabbi Schlein, why don't we we'll each chant one line and translate one line? Or speak the line and translate the line?
Yes, I'm happy to. I just wanted to quickly apologize that I had to step away for a few minutes. It was toddler bedtime and there was a lot of noise coming from the other room. I wanted to make sure nothing was on fire like the house. So please forgive me for stepping away for just a few minutes. Yes. Do we chant it the same way? I don't know that we do.
I don't know. It'd be so interesting to find out what this
Great.
sounds like.
Okay.
But okay, so I guess
Here we
you'll
go.
go first, Rabbi Schlein second. I'll bat cleanup.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
And the translation.
Oh, may God, I don't remember the exact translation, may God keep you and bless you and keep you.
I don't sing it that way. I do it a little differently.
Cool.
So now I got to get into the. Thank you, Cantor.
You're welcome.
Isa Adonai panav elech. I went to the end one. I got
No, you're good.
No. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'kunecha. May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Amen. And may God bless all of us and everyone that you love with the greatest gift of all, the blessing of shalom, the blessing of peace in a world, in a home filled with peace. Amen.
Amen.
Good job, rabbis, just
You're
like we
welcome.
rehearsed it.
Yeah, you're welcome to unmute if you have anything you want to say or to add, but thank you everyone for coming. I think this was wonderful. Thank you for helping us.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you very much, Joni.
Stay healthy, everybody.
Beautiful.
Yep, stay well.
Lovely. Thank you.